Buenas tardes. Para el Instituto Internacional de Derechos Humanos, capítulo de Costa Rica, es un gusto poder compartir el segundo Diálogo Internacional de Jóvenes por la Paz y los Derechos Humanos. Iniciamos en el 2022 y el producto de este primer diálogo es el manifiesto que consta de 5 principios, cada principio con 5 acciones. En esta ocasión, jóvenes de diferentes partes del mundo estarán dialogando el cómo podemos ser parte del cambio que todos queremos ver en el mundo, parafraseando al maestro Gandhi. Creemos que proyectos como este, donde jóvenes de América y Europa dialogarán y comparten sus ideas y preocupaciones, así como propuestas sobre cultura de paz y derechos humanos, en los momentos como los que hoy vive el mundo, son de gran importancia para promover comunidades donde la paz, la democracia y los derechos humanos son fundamentales para alcanzar el desarrollo humano de nuestras sociedades. El programa, sus alcances, su impacto es de gran trascendencia para el Instituto Internacional de Derechos Humanos, capítulo de Costa Rica, dada la conformación del diálogo con representaciones tan diversas que enriquecen nuestras democracias. Recordemos que solo existe una forma de avanzar: juntas y juntos. Jóvenes, gracias por ser parte de este diálogo, por compartir con muchos jóvenes más sus ideas y preocupaciones, así como propuestas. Recuerden que ustedes son el motor del cambio y por ende del desarrollo de nuestras sociedades.
Hola, soy Dumitru Forna, miembro del Comité Económico y Social Europeo y secretario general de la Confederación Nacional de Sindicatos Meridian de Rumanía. Dentro del Comité Económico y Social Europeo, participo activamente en la sección de Relaciones Exteriores y en la Comisión de Seguimiento de las Relaciones de la Unión Europea con los Estados latinoamericanos. Estoy presente en Costa Rica porque formo parte de la delegación del Comité Económico y Social Europeo que participó en el Foro de Diálogo Multiactor Unión Europea-América Latina sobre transición verde justa, transformación digital inclusiva y cohesión social. Foro que se celebró miércoles el 4 de octubre 2023 en vuestro país. Este evento fue organizado con éxito por los esfuerzos de la Fundación EULAC y la Escuela de Relaciones Internacionales de la Universidad Nacional de Costa Rica. El foro se ha organizado en coordinación con la Cumbre Ministerial de Sostenibilidad Ambiental que se celebró jueves el 5 de octubre 2023 en San José, Costa Rica. En este contexto me reuní con la presidenta del Instituto Internacional de Derechos Humanos América, el capítulo Costa Rica, la señora Roxana Pereira, lo que me ayudó a entender mejor las preocupaciones de la sociedad civil en Costa Rica y las expectativas de los socios de América Latina en las relaciones de cooperación con la Unión Europea. Los derechos humanos representan un estándar de calidad de cualquier sociedad desarrollada. El Estado de Derecho y la buena gobernanza no puede lograrse sin el respeto de los derechos humanos fundamentales. La sociedad civil organizada debe involucrarse en la educación de los jóvenes en este campo y en este sentido la actividad del Instituto Internacional de Derechos Humanos América es muy relevante. El proyecto Seamos el Cambio que Queremos Ver en el Mundo, que promueven la participación de jóvenes de diferentes países, que está implementado por el Instituto Internacional de Derechos Humanos, considero que es de gran relevancia tanto para la promoción de los valores fundamentales de la democracia como para consolidar el Estado de Derecho y la buena gobernanza. Animo a los jóvenes del mundo al involucrarse en este cambio que queremos ver en el mundo. Felicito al Instituto por promover en América y en el mundo espacios como este.
Hello, my name is Dr. John Mark Wilson. I'm an English faculty member from Southeastern Louisiana University, and I have the distinct honor today of speaking with you all about being the change you wish to see in the world today. Now that sounds like a lofty and romantic ideal. It sounds like a noble goal worth pursuing. It also sounds like a big ask. That's a lot. Some of us want to see a lot of changes in the world. And while such things can begin with us, the self, it does appear there are a number of barriers to enforcing these changes we'd like to see. Whether these changes be on a societal, institutional, systemic levels, they do seem oftentimes way outside of our own domain. So, what can we do to start making changes? Not just with ourselves and self-betterment, which of course that is important as well, and that is also a very worthy pursuit. But wouldn't it be better if self-improvement and improving the world at large can become ligated or connected? That'd be ideal, wouldn't it? So, what I want to talk to you about today is a form of self-improvement, though it is not necessarily one that is heard in self-improvement circles, if you will, though you may have heard of it before. What I wish to speak to you about today is a little concept called information literacy. Now, information literacy, if we're going to get to the roots of it, let's look at what the term means. So, essentially, to be literate, to be able to read, understand, comprehend, and ascertain what the content is trying to tell us, and so that'd be literate, and information is content, right? Data that is trying to be transmitted towards us or is accessible to us, right? So having that information literacy of being able to read and understand this information, but more importantly, with information literacy, goes back to, well, perhaps you have had a Composition 101 course and you remember your rhetorical analysis, the 3 proofs of rhetorical analysis, and perhaps not. They are also called Aristotelian logic, or the 3 proofs of Aristotelian logic. Now, normally in my classes, I like to take a moment here to mention how Aristotle may not have been exactly as cracked up as history would like us to remember him. After all, the man was thrice married and maintained that women had less teeth than men. He never did bother to verify this by counting the teeth of at least one of his several wives. Take some of what he says with a grain of salt. He's also why we have that pervasive myth that we have but 5 senses. We have far more than 5 senses. But it goes back to Aristotle. Anyway, this video is not so much about detracting from Aristotle, but rather mentioning that in Aristotelian logic, we have 3 proofs, right? And this ties in, is the same thing as rhetorical analysis. They're in no particular order, and there's a lot of overlap between them. But there's ethos. Ethos, what does that sound like, right? It sounds like the word ethics, right? But ethics has kind of a, not even kind of, it has a very long and storied history. And a lot of these terms come from older meanings of these words. So ethics oftentimes meant to judge, to weigh, to ascertain the credibility of the speaker. Who is saying this, and is this someone to be trusted? Pocket that idea for now. That's the one we're going to return to. But for your own cultural knowledge, the other 2, logos, an appeal to your logic or your rational mind, and the other is pathos. Pathos, an appeal to your emotions, right? Of course, these don't exist in a vacuum. Usually we'll just point out, this might traffic more in pathos. It tries to play off your emotions more than your sense of logic. Or it might be, hey, this person's saying it and they know what they're talking about, so maybe we should pay more attention to them. Or it could be, who is this person? Why are we listening to them? This could be concerning. Is there a name attached to what they are saying? So in this day and age, with so much information constantly bombarding you, it is not only your responsibility, I would say it's your personal duty to be able to ascertain the source of information. Keep in mind, there's a lot of talk about fake news and are they really an expert? Well, with information literacy, proper information literacy, knowing what it means if a source comes from peer review, knowing what it means if a source does come from established institutions as opposed to someone's blog or someone's opinion or a meme. There's oftentimes an anonymity with the latter. In the former, the academic article, if you will, which is oftentimes seen as the benchmark or the standard of accepted information, and one that is oftentimes beyond reproach. That's not to suggest that data doesn't change, nor does new information come to light. Naturally, of course it does. New information comes in all the time, new ideas, new concepts, new forms of looking at things, all that exciting stuff. It just simply sometimes takes the place, supplants it, or other times it's just seen as the more useful modality of viewing things or the more useful perspective, whatever the case may be. Let's not get too in the weeds, if you will. So, since the academic article is seen as the standard, one of the chief things is it's gone through peer review, which means other people in the field that have no idea that this person wrote it, they're submitted anonymously, and there's the anonymity of the author is protected and maintained throughout the entire process to ensure everything's on the up and up. I'm not going to walk you through the whole process, but it's rigorous and pretty robust. It's a far cry harder than just typing up a blog, opinion-based, and sending it out there. So ask yourself, when you're encountering news articles, who's a news agency? When you're encountering opinions, things that you see online, these days, in the age of information, as a close friend of mine likes to say, ignorance is a choice. So you can read information and take it at face value, or you could take that extra step and verify. Look at multiple sources. Look what other people are saying. Engage with it. Don't just be a passive agent in your life and be bombarded by this information. Yes, we are constantly bombarded by information, of course, and you can't keep up with all of it. But those things that grab your ear and you feel inclined to recite or maybe share, do take a step and look into it. Unfortunately, if you don't have high information literacy, you are very prone to manipulation. You're very prone to being used. But if you're your own person, if you can establish your own thoughts, if you can read the information, collect that data, those data points, extrapolate from it a new modality of seeing things, a new perspective, a new way of viewing things, or even not. Maybe it just further reinforces ideas that are beginning, that you're cementing, then that's a beautiful thing. But if you cannot, then you are very easily manipulated. You're readily led. And there's a huge danger in that. Because unfortunately, not everyone in this world has the purest intentions. And if you're easily manipulated, you're easily used. And if you're easily used, I can guarantee you, it's more than likely not in your best interest. But if you know, where is the information coming from? Not only will you be able to ascertain if it's valid or not, you can also see how it can integrate with how you view things. Most of life's bigger questions, right? Things surrounding aspects of who you should love or not love, or what happens when we die. You know, those big human questions that have been around for millennia. They've been around for millennia because they're very difficult to answer, and there's a lot of different answers for them. Doesn't mean all answers are built the same, but what it can be is, rather than being a parrot or simply an echo chamber, what I want you guys to do to truly be the change you want to see in the world is listen to quality, good sources. Open your mind. Inform your own decisions. You're at a very interesting time in your life. You're kind of in that segue between child and full-on adult. And it's a very important time for you to understand what kind of person you want to become, what kind of ethics you want to maintain, what virtues do you hold sacred, what kind of code do you live by, what kind of code do you want to live by. And the honest thing is, there's really, for the big questions, no real answer to it, and that's okay. Withholding judgment, as John Keats, which unfortunately I don't really have the time to get into, talked about negative capability. It's okay to withhold judgment on a particular subject matter that you may not have expertise in. It's okay to not immediately opine on something. It's okay to not jump in on that forum or message board and type away your opinions. Sometimes it's best to take a step back, withhold judgment, get more information, consider it from various angles, and then make an informed decision. Because ultimately, much like the bigger choices, our perspectives rule how we live our lives. Our perspectives create our reality. And in having strong information literacy, our perspectives can be sharpened. And remember, again, it doesn't necessarily matter where you fall on a lot of these things, as long as you thought about them yourself and you used the best information at your disposal. It doesn't matter if you're politically speaking more right or left-leaning, as long as you thought it through. Whatever your religious beliefs are, as long as you didn't uncritically accept them, as long as you thought about it and then accepted it or rejected it, that's fine by most standards, as long as you thought about it. That's the important thing. And I want to leave you with one last little bit. Oftentimes we're too caught up in who's right, who's wrong, they're more correct, they're less correct. But is that really so important? With so many different perspectives, with so many different people on the planet. We're on a planet of 9 billion people. And a part of having that strong information literacy, which can help us as people, and also to ensure we don't get duped so easily, amongst other things, oftentimes it's not so important who's right, who's wrong, who's more correct. Consider this. Perhaps wisdom is not about who's the most correct or who has all the answers. Perhaps wisdom is simply being able to see and understand as many different perspectives as possible. Of course, an individual is free to reject many of these perspectives, but at least they understand them. And perhaps that's what it means to be wise. And through this wisdom, perhaps not only will we change ourselves, but those around us to a degree, a microcosmic level, and maybe such things can start catching fire. Small changes lead to big changes. But if we want to see the world, if you want to be the change you want to see in the world, it starts with you. So, what I'm asking of you, when you read, pay attention, not just to the contents. Who is saying it? If there's not a name, an alarm bell should go off. Why is there not a name? Why did someone write this and not put a name? That is not normal. Trust me, most academics aren't exactly doing it for financial benefit, publishing articles and what have you. It's for various other reasons, but it is not for an economic purpose by and large. And in conspiracy theories, the number one rule is follow the money. If there's a lack of money, why are they doing it? Well, most of the time, academics will put her name on things. Honestly, it helps her resumes. It helps her CVs. It's career builder. It's also because we have a genuine love for our respective disciplines and we wish to further knowledge and get our name out there. Notice what I'm saying a lot. Our name. Our names are attached to it. First, last author, or only author, that kind of thing. We want our name there. If there's something written and there's not a name on it, ask yourself why. How true can it be? Be wise about it. Have a great day, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you for a quick little 15 minutes to mention about it's not enough just to read. It's who you're reading. Take care. Have a great day. And starting with being that change can start later today. No time like the present.